Before we start, let me say this. If you love discovering games that do things differently, that take risks and surprise you when you least expect it, stick around. These upcoming indie titles are some of the most unique and creative I've seen in a long time, and I guarantee at least one of them will make you think, wow, I didn't see that coming. Legendary Heroes, a Game of Death, throws you straight into a fast-paced, 90s-style arcade beat-em-up that feels both nostalgic and brutally modern. It's a pure single-player challenge built on real fighting game mechanics, so timing, cancels, and precision matter just as much as raw aggression. Enemies don't just stand around. They flank you, counter you, and punish every mistake, making each encounter feel intense and personal. Bosses hit even harder, each one testing a different part of your skill. The hand-drawn high-res animation looks fantastic in motion, and the energetic soundtrack keeps the adrenaline high. No progression walls, no unlock grind. You start fully equipped, and the rest is all about mastery. It's tough, stylish, and incredibly satisfying once you get into its rhythm. Nova Roma feels like stepping into the role of a city builder trying to revive the fading spirit of the Roman Empire. It's a pure, single-player experience, but it has a surprisingly personal touch. The gameplay is all about thinking ahead. Water systems, soil quality, long supply chains, everything is connected. Building huge dams and aqueducts feels powerful, like you're reshaping the world, but every decision carries risk, whether it's angering the gods or draining the land of its fertility. Your citizens grow with the city. Watching newcomers turn into artisans, gladiators, or performers gives the whole place a sense of life and progression. The visuals are calm and atmospheric, capturing the beauty of ancient landscapes without overwhelming you. But don't be fooled. Nova Roma is a constant battle to balance expansion, happiness, and divine favor. And once it clicks, it becomes incredibly engaging to guide your little settlement into a thriving Roman metropolis. Queen's Domain is a retro-style action RPG that throws you onto the mysterious Isle of Niseed in a fast, challenging, single-player adventure. Exploration is huge here. The world is interconnected, full of secrets, and your holy sword even lets you fly between platforms, unlocking new areas as you upgrade it. Combat feels tight and old school, with a stamina meter, charged attacks, weapon-specific abilities, and tons of throwing weapons to mix up your strategy. With over 50 melee weapons to collect and upgrade, plus leveling and stat boosts through food, there's always something new to experiment with. The retro fantasy atmosphere is gorgeous, and the island is packed with enemies and bosses that really test your skills. It's a nostalgic but fresh action RPG that rewards curiosity and precision. Bulk is one of those games that looks simple at first glance, but suddenly you realize an hour has passed and you're completely hooked. It's a single-player, incremental card-mixing factory set in this eerie, dark fantasy workshop where everything creaks, hums, and feels strangely alive. The gameplay loop is incredibly satisfying. Grabbing cards off a conveyor belt, fusing them into higher tiers, selling them, and immediately reinvesting your earnings into faster machines and crazier upgrades. What I love is how the game blends active clicking with idle progression. You can min-max every second, or just sit back and watch your profits explode as automation takes over. The visuals have this gritty, arcane industrial vibe, almost like magic powering a factory that shouldn't exist. And the deeper you go, the more chaotic and addictive the whole system becomes. Bulk taps perfectly into that feeling of just one more upgrade, and before you know it, your entire factory is a beautifully chaotic money-making machine. Fry's Drive is one of those cozy little games that instantly puts a smile on your face. It's a single-player food truck simulator that blends relaxing exploration with surprisingly intense first-person cooking. You cruise through a charming, low-poly world from a top-down view, weaving through tight streets and racing against the clock to reach your next spot. But the real magic happens the moment you park. The game shifts into a first-person kitchen where timing is everything. Chopping potatoes, frying batches to golden perfection, adding the right sauces, and trying to keep impatient customers happy creates this perfect mix of chill atmosphere and just enough pressure to keep you focused. Upgrading your truck feels great too, letting you move faster and juggle bigger rushes. The visuals are warm and colorful, the pacing is smooth, and the whole experience feels like a relaxing cooking adventure, with a little chaos sprinkled in to keep it exciting. Band of Crusaders is one of those dark medieval strategy RPGs that immediately pulls you in with its atmosphere. It's a fully single-player experience where you step into the role of a Grand Master leading a knightly order against demonic horrors spreading across Europe. The gameplay mixes party-based real-time combat with slow-motion tactics, and every decision feels heavy, especially because your Crusaders can die permanently. Positioning, ability synergies, and smart equipment choices matter far more than brute force. Between battles, you manage a growing camp, upgrading buildings, training your knights, and trying to stretch limited resources across a land that's steadily collapsing under corruption. What I really enjoy is how the world feels alive. Factions react, demons spread, seasons change, and your campaign becomes this evolving narrative shaped by your choices. The grim visual style and folklore-inspired demons make every encounter tense and unsettling, and building your roster of up to 20 unique Crusaders gives the game a real sense of investment. It's challenging, atmospheric, and surprisingly deep, perfect if you love tactical combat wrapped in a brooding medieval world. Fracture Point is a fast, gritty, single-player FPS roguelike that really leans into that risk and reward tension. Every run feels like breaking into a hostile tower where each floor is freshly generated, packed with armed enemies, and littered with loot that can completely change your loadout. What I love is how hands-on the gunplay is. You're managing magazines, ammo types, armor durability, and every piece of gear genuinely matters. Between pushes up the tower, you head back to your base to sell loot and upgrade your equipment, but there's always that temptation to keep going, because the deeper floors hold the best rewards, and the most brutal enemies. The story gives your climb real weight too. It's a revenge mission against the corporation that ruined your life, and you feel that pressure as their assassins get deadlier. Visually, the game leans into a dark, oppressive cyberpunk vibe, and the moment-to-moment combat is chaotic, tense, and incredibly addictive. It's one of those shooters where greed will get you killed, but the thrill of pushing just one more floor is impossible to resist. After the crash, Colony is a tense and atmospheric single-player survival builder that drops you onto a mysterious planet with a small, vulnerable crew and basically says, "Good luck!" What I really enjoy is how every moment matters. During the day, you're exploring, gathering resources, and slowly building a functioning production chain, but once night falls, the tone changes completely. The darkness feels hostile, and your defenses suddenly become the difference between life and death. Keeping your crew alive is a constant balancing act. They need food, rest, morale, and medical attention, and the choices you make genuinely shape the colony's future. Bit by bit you expand, upgrading tech, strengthening structures, and hunting for the ship parts you need to escape. Graphically, the game has this clean but moody sci-fi look that fits the setting perfectly, and the pacing keeps you on edge without ever feeling overwhelming. It's one of those games where survival isn't guaranteed, but every day you last feels like a small victory. Peregrino is a grim and atmospheric isometric survival adventure that really gets under your skin. It's a purely single-player journey where you lead a caravan of desperate pilgrims through a cursed forest, and every decision feels like it carries real weight. By day, you're scavenging, hunting, and trying to gather enough resources to keep everyone alive. But when night comes, that's when the real horror sets in. The divine custodians start their hunt, and suddenly, survival becomes a frantic, terrifying scramble. What makes the game hit so hard is how personal it feels. Each pilgrim has their own story, their own skills, and losing one of them is permanent. Managing morale, food, and shelter becomes this constant juggling act, all while upgrading your caravan so it can endure what's ahead. The art style is this haunting 19th century Gothic vision, dark and handcrafted, and it makes the whole world feel cursed and alive. Peregrino isn't just about surviving. It's about leading people who trust you through a nightmare, and hoping you're strong enough to carry them to the end. Astoria is one of those open-world civility sandboxes that immediately makes you feel like you've stepped into a living, breathing ecosystem. You can play solo or with friends, and the world is made up entirely of floating islands, each with its own climate, minerals, wildlife, and resources. What really grabbed me is how strategic everything becomes. Farming, energy production, mining, all depend on choosing the right island with the right conditions, like wind strength, temperature, fertility, or humidity. Exploration is incredibly rewarding. You dive into caves for rare minerals, uncover ancient ruins, and piece together the history of a collapsed civilization. And building your airship feels amazing. It's your home, your transport, your storage, even your defense platform. And you can customize it however you want as long as you manage its energy needs. There's this satisfying depth in plant breeding, smelting new mineral combinations, crafting advanced machinery, and sending out drones to scout dangerous areas. Visually, the floating islands have this serene, dreamlike atmosphere, but the world can turn brutal in a second with hostile creatures and extreme weather. All these games, different genres, different ideas, different moods, but they share one thing in common: creativity. Indie games don't need massive budgets to be meaningful. They just need passion, imagination, and the courage to do things differently. And each one of these titles proves that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.